Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about just some general rhythm things as we're going to be working this week on rhythmic literacy and preparing for your final rhythm test of the semester, which will be on Thursday. So, whatever level you're at, you're going to be able to test at that belt. So, I just want to kind of go through some basic things about what you need to be doing when you're doing these assessments and which areas of rhythm literacy are included in each belt. So most importantly is trying to make sure you keep the beat consistent with each measure. That's a really important thing that a lot of people were doing or that needed to do better at the last e-learning rhythm stuff that we did. So the beat is always going to be ta. So remember that you either have that beat divided into 2 or 3 equal parts. When it's divided into 2 equal parts, like that's simple meter, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4 time. Okay, so beat, beat, echo me, ta, ta, toddy, toddy. That's simple meter, where the beat is divided into equal parts. Compound meter, we have the beat divided into 3 equal parts. So echo me, beat, beat, ready, and ta, ta, takida, takida. So making sure that you keep that beat really consistent within that that feel of the ta being the pulse, whether it's in 6/8 or 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, whatever the case may be. Okay. The thing that people were really struggling with at the last rhythm literacy was dots and ties. So I wanted to that's where we move into green belt. So I wanted to kind of just mention a little bit about dots and ties and how they work. So if you're following along here, feel free to take notes if they're helpful. But a dot adds half the value to the note, and a tie just connects note values together. Okay, so a dotted quarter note basically means you're taking a quarter note and you're adding half of that value to that quarter note. Okay, so half of a quarter is an eighth. So a dotted quarter would be a quarter note plus an eighth note. So if we were in four time or whatever, instead of just doing ta, 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 the quarter note, we'd add half the value, ta, D. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second in context. Okay. So just remember also the eighth notes, sometimes they're beamed together and sometimes they're not beamed together, where they're just with the flag. So you can see that the 1 quarter note is equal to 2 eighth notes. Okay, so then 1/8 note is half of 2 eighth notes, which is where that half comes from. So the dotted quarter equals those 3 eighth notes, or a quarter plus an eighth. Ties just mean we're going to connect 2 notes together across bars or across bars meaning measures, or like across a beat. Okay, so this would be ta, 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 ta. So you have to just keep track of the beat wherever you are with those ties. Okay, so that would be another way to write that same rhythm. Okay, so those are just some examples of how dots work. So let's look at how the rhythms are divided out with 16th notes, which is the blue belt level. So we'll be using these. We'll be using the 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4 time examples. We won't go into the other ones, but you can have 2, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. But focus on this is kind of your basic rhythm tree. The ta's the beat, tadi, and then taka, dimi, taka, dimi. So in other words, we're going to be looking at all of these as our different 16th note patterns if you're doing blue belt. So we have the basic patterns, ta, ta, di, taka, di, mi. And then we have the ta, di, mi, ta, di, mi. Say that one. Ready, go. Ta, di, mi, ta, di, mi. Make sure you're able to differentiate these if you are doing the 16th note patterns, because the 16th notes in this case are at the beginning. Taka, di, for that example. Okay, then we also have the dotted rhythms, ta, mi, or when the 16th note is first, taka, taka, and then the syncopated rhythm, taka, mi. So those are just some different examples of 16th notes. Okay, here's an example of a dotted rhythm being used for back to the green belt example now. So you can see that in measure 1, we just have the basic ta, 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 dee, ta. But in measure 2, we're taking that dot, adding half the value. So it's ta, dee, ta, dee, ta. Say that rhythm, measure 2, go. So just making sure you keep track of that extra eighth note. There's the ta, and you're thinking that there's an extra eighth note in there. And then that ends up being on the D of B2. Okay, so ta, D would be that dotted quarter. So that's the thing that people tend to be struggling with a little bit. So let's put 16th notes together with dotted quarters in exercise 5.2. And we'll just do maybe the first line here. So just for practice. 1, 2, ready, and here we go. Ta-dee, 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 me, ta-dee, ta-dee. So now, once you do that, then you can practice the different examples at whatever level you want on Sight Reading Factory. Now, for tomorrow, I actually do have a specific rhythm example like assignment set up for you. But for today, all you need to do is just like start sight reading. And when you do that, you can choose any level that you would like to practice. And you don't have to submit anything today. As long as you watch this video, that's all you have to do for today. I would just include, when you're doing rhythm, just include rhythm only. And then level 1, you can kind of see the rhythms over on the right here that would be used. And then that's like basically just like white, yellow belt. Then green belt would be included here. You can see that it includes some 16th note patterns, which is very similar to like level 3. Level 2 is kind of like a advanced yellow belt or basic green belt for Sight Reading Factory. But you can just choose green belt or red belt sight reading here if you want to use those. These will be more advanced, like, kind of pre-black belt, levels 5 and 6, so you don't need to worry about those. So if you just want to try green belt, which is going to include basic 16th note patterns and the dotted rhythms, you could just choose that. And then you can choose your own time signature, which you will do tomorrow. So let's say you want to practice in 3/4 instead of 4/4. And then you can just start free play, and it will allow you to just sight read examples. So look through the example, and then just sight read through it on your own, whatever level you choose. We'll go ahead and do this together for right now. 1, 2, ready, and here we go. Ta, taka-dee-me, ta, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta, ta-dee, ta. Ta-dee, ta, ta, taka-dee-me, ta, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta, taka-dee-me, ta, ta. So if you want to back this up and do that with me a couple of times and then do it on your own. And then when you're practicing on Sight Reading Factory, you can just click next and it will just give you another example with the same difficulty level, but with a new example. And you can do that as many times as you want, so you get tons of practice on that. For tomorrow, when you actually do the assessment that you're going to submit to Sight Reading Factory, so I can hear you practicing, and then you'll have another one on Thursday, which I will actually be grading for accuracy. You can actually just go to that assignment, and then it will let you set it up for you. You can test your microphone if you want, or you can skip the mic check if you've already done that. If it's fine from before, you will be able to choose your own level. So if you want to try the red belt level to push yourself a little bit, great. If you don't, then do either 3. Level 3 would be basically a green belt. So I'll go ahead and choose red belt, and then choose your time signature. Let's say you want to practice it in 4/4. Then it will show you you have unlimited attempts, so you can practice as many examples as you want. And then when you feel good about the example, you can submit it then. So it will give you the example. It will give you 45 seconds if you want to look through it. And you'll notice here that we've got some rests that you're going to need to deal with here in measure 3. So you might want to practice those before doing it. You have a tie from measure 3 to 4. So that's going to be basically like a dotted rhythm, except for we can't use a dotted quarter because it would be too many beats in that measure. So they use a tie instead. Okay, so measures 3 to 4 would be taka, di, mi, ta, di, ta, di, ta, which would give you that little 8th rest there. Whenever you're ready, you click ready. It will count you off. Stay with the metronome. Ta, ta, ka, di, mi, ta, ta, taka, di, ta, di, taka, di, mi, ta, di, ta, di, ta. Ta, taka, di, ta, di, mi, di, mi, di, mi, ta. And make sure you start with the metronome. You can listen to your recording with the actual rhythm so you can see if it's right. Okay, and then once you listen to it, you can listen back and you can see what it's supposed to be. Stay with the metronome. Ta, ka, di, mi, taka, di, and so on and so forth. So I'll just put stop for now. If you're like, once you listen to it, you're like, yeah, it's good. Then you can submit assignment. If you're like, oh, I made some mistakes, then you can try another one, and you can do that as many times as you want until you're feeling good about it, and that means you've practiced it until you master it. Once you're done feeling like, yes, I have it, then submit the assignment. And that is it.